Hello YouTube, welcome to the 10th episode of Suggestion Showcase. Today I will be reading another suggestion of Vulcan XH558. This suggestion is about the Hawker P.1052 and the Hawker P.1081. So let's get started with the Hawker P.1052. Introduction. The Hawker P.1052 is an aircraft which is often forgotten, but is an important stepping stone leading up to the Hunter, a stepping stone between it and the Seahawk that came before it. Not only did it help create this link, but it also gained valuable information for the Hunter program that would affect its overall design. History. The P.1052 started out live as a brochure presented by Hawker on the 13th June 1946, describing the need for a high-speed aircraft capable of researching the prospects of swept wings. This aircraft was also to be made quickly, thus necessitating it to be based of a current type, with minimal modifications. The Air Ministry confirmed its approval on the 27th of August of that same year, and the project started in earnest. A fuel crisis suspended the works of the prototype between the 10th and 28th February of 1947, but were continued rapidly, with a contract being written around the type. With two examples being purchased, the airframe was completed at Kingston, but was shipped to Boscombe Down, where it took its first flight on the 19th November 1948. The type had a very busy year in 1949, with notable achievement being the setting of a new London-Paris speed record of 21 minutes 27 seconds by squadron leader Trevor Sidney Wimpy. On the 13th of May of that year, in the first aircraft VX-272, the aircraft was out of action for most of 1950 and early 1951 due to two separate belly landings, though it was repaired in time for the 1951 SBAC Farnborough Air Show. In March 1952, VX-272 was given a bullet fairing over the tailplane junction. In the period between May 27th and May 28th, the P.1052 was trialed on HMS Eagle, having been painted in grey duck egg green navy colours. In 1953, the type was fitted with a variable incidence tailplane, with testing at the RAE being done. In September of that year, the aircraft ended its career in another forced landing, later being dispatched to the RAF Carrington for ground instructional purposes, before being presented to the Fleet Air Arm Museum, Wilton. The second vehicle, VX-279, was completed in 1949, taking flight on the 13th July of that year. The aircraft performed handling trials at the A and AEE, where the aircraft was described as pleasant to fly, the only complaint being about the heaviness of the elevator. The ailerons were highly responsive during combat tests against the Meteor Mark IV, though slightly heavier at higher speeds. The aircraft was also evaluated by the Australians, who were interested in a new fighter jet. Overall, the aircraft performed well in all speed ranges, and carrier trials on a dummy deck revealed excellent performance at low speeds, and was at least as good as the P.1040, which was a Seahawk, at similar weight. VX-279 didn't serve for long as the P.1052, as the aircraft was converted into the P.1081 from spring of 1950. Design. The P.1052 is essentially a minimal change variant of the Seahawk, with the only major difference being the swept wing, which possessed 40 degrees sweep at the leading edge. The balance controls of the Seahawk were retained, though high-speed test flights revealed severe tail unit vibration, which was corrected by changing the tailplane incidence from plus 0.5 degrees to plus 1 degree, which gave better performance at high speeds. Though intended for experimental flight, the P.1052 could be easily modified for operational use, with the design being laid out for a carriage of four 20mm Hispano cannons. The aircraft retained bifurcated arrangements of the engine exhausts. Specifications of the P.1052. Type: single-seat research aircraft. Span: 31 feet 6 inches or 9.6 meters. Length: 37 feet and 7 inches or 11.46 meters. Gross wing area: 258 square foot or 23.99 square meters. Wing thickness/chord ratio 10% constant. Max weight 13,550 pounds or 6,146 kilos. Power plant: 1 Rolls-Royce Nene RN rated at 5,000 pounds of thrust. Max speed is 682 miles an hour or 1,099 kilometers at sea level. Max Mach is 0.87 at 36,000 feet in level flight, 0.9 Mach in a dive. Service ceiling 45,000 feet or 13,716 meters. Absolute ceiling is 49,500 feet or 15,088 meters. Climb rate is 9.2 minutes to 30,000 feet, 9,144 meters. Radius of action is 310 nautical miles or 574 kilometers. Armament for 20mm Hispano cannons. which were never fitted. Note, sources vary considerably on the max speed. Conclusion: the P.1052 would be a great addition to the tree, bringing a unique aircraft with interesting history. I would see it as an event vehicle, considering its unique nature. Now, let's talk about the Hawker P.1081, which is the second modified P.1052 introduction. The Hawker P.1081 was an important milestone in British aviation history that is often forgotten. Despite the important role it played in the development of the Hunter, the aircraft was also well regarded by its pilots, who proved that it was a nimble fighter able to match aircraft such as the F-86 Sabre and their equivalents, and even surpasses them in certain aspects. Description: as mentioned in the previous post, the second P-1052 prototype, VX-279, was converted into the P-1081 standard in 1950. The main difference between the two types was the new rear section with a swept-back tail and straight-through jet pipe. The tail section was removed from VX-279 and modified for naval trials, being fitted to the first P-1052 prototype. It was hoped that the type would be powered by Rolls-Royce Tay, their ultimate centrifugal jet engine. In the end, it was never used by the British, but was produced in large quantities by both France and the United States. The fitting of the engine would require some modifications to the center fuselage, which had been designed around the Nene, but nothing was too drastic. This variant had again significant interest from the Australians, who wished to procure it as an interceptor. However, since the Tay was not in production, another option was an Nene fitted with reheat, which would still boost the fighter's performance by a large margin. In the end, the intended second prototype with a reheated Tay was never built, nor the Nene with the afterburner, despite having one earmarked for it. Due to these factors, the VX-279 retained the standard Nene and used a jet pipe from the Supermarine Attacker. On the 19th of June 1950, the P-1081 took to the air for the first time under the command of Wimpy Wade, who took it on a 30-minute test flight. It was then shipped via road to Boscombe Down for a test, before eventually taking part in the Brussels Aero Show, the National Air Races, and the photo shoot in Blackbush. Following this, tests were carried out by both Wade and Neville Duke to eliminate directional oscillation. Duke also found that the rudder was extremely heavy, almost inoperable at higher speeds, but the tail vibration still developed into buffet. These issues were worked out as Hawker began to move towards production. However, it soon became known that the Australians had cancelled their order, despite showing great interest at first, even ordering a license of 72 aircraft from CAC. The decision to cancel the aircraft had the knock-on effect of affecting the Tay, which was also cancelled. Despite this, testing continued, and the aircraft had its rear fuselage fairing extended, which increased the speed by 6 knots, or 11 km an hour. Further modifications to the tailplane, mainly that of distributed mass rudder with reduced trailing edge sweep, helped solve the buffeting problem for the most part, and greatly improved overall performance, increasing maneuverability, reducing pilot stress and workload, as well as making the aircraft much more pleasant to fly. The aircraft was used in the development of the P-1067, which was the Hunter, mainly in the development of the dive recovery and landing flaps, which were to be used as air brakes. Although results were encouraging, it was found that they produced insufficient drag to slow down the aircraft as much as they wanted. In 1951, Wade concluded a trip to the USA and found that the P-1081 possessed superior performance and armament than either the F-86A or the F-86E, though the P-1081's performance somewhat limited by high jet pipe temperatures. Crash. Tragedy struck on 3rd April 1951, like a roll of thunder, came from the sky, and witnesses saw the P-1081 plummeting in a near vertical dive towards the ground. The ejection seat fell away, but tragically Wade was still strapped in when the seat hit the ground, and was killed. The aircraft recovered temporarily when the canopy jettisoned, performing a wide right-hand circuit and some uncontrolled maneuvers before crashing at Ringmer. The aircraft was completely destroyed, though the cause of the crash has never been identified. Various modifications had been made to the aircraft, including replacement of the tailplane actuator and interconnection between the dive recovery and landing flaps. Despite its loss, the P-1081 had gained a large amount of valuable information for the Hunter program and certainly influenced the overall design of the aircraft. So let's get into the specifications of the P-1081. Type: single-seat jet fighter prototype. Span: 31 feet 6 inches or 9.6 meters. Length: 37 feet 4 inches or 11.38 meters. Gross wing area: 258 square foot or 23.99 square meters. Wing thickness to the chord is 10% constant. Max weight: 14,480 pounds or 6,568 kilos. Power plant is 1 Rolls-Royce B41 Nene 5,000 pound. Max speed is 696 miles an hour or 1,119 kilometers an hour at sea level. Max Mach was 0.89 at 36,000 feet or 10,973 meters. Speed Mach data gathered on the 15th September 1950 at 12,350 pounds or 5,602 kilos. Takeoff weight max speed was 635 miles an hour, 1,222 kilometers an hour. Mach 0.81 at sea level, 601 miles an hour or 967 kilometers an hour, or Mach 0.89 at 30,000 feet or 9,144 meters. Service ceiling was 45,600 feet or 13,900 meters. Climb rate was 6,100 feet a minute or 1,859 meters a minute at sea level. Radius of action was 380 miles or 611 kilometers at 35,000 feet or 10,668 meters. Armament was provision for 4 20mm Hispano cannons, which were never fitted. Conclusion: I believe that this aircraft would be a fine addition to the British aircraft collection in War Thunder, preferably as a squadron vehicle at 8-7. Overall, this aircraft would make for a great flying aircraft, as well as being as an enjoyable dogfighter, matching and even surpassing the F-86 Sabre in some aspects. My take on the two aircraft: the P.1052 should be an event vehicle and the P.1081 should be a premium vehicle. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure to go +1 every Vulcan's suggestion, and I'll see you in the next episode of Suggestion Showcase.